Hey there clan, and welcome to another party member Inquisition analysis video, or I really need to come up with a better name for this stuff. But in today's installment we're going to be talking about the most forgettable member of the Inquisition, Cole, or possibly the most compassionate if the hat didn't give it away. So yeah, this should be quite an interesting one, especially since I also get to talk about Asunder.
Once we were in our peace with our lives assured. Once we were not afraid.
So Cole's a little bit tricky to talk about due to the fact that he can be interpreted in quite a few ways. But first I'm also going to talk about Cole from Asunder, because the Cole from Asunder is a slightly different Cole than we actually see in Dragon Age Inquisition. This is him in the back, by the way. Now, my initial impressions of Cole from Asunder is I knew that he wasn't human, as it says, with his ability to make people forget, and also the way he talked as well just didn't seem human. I didn't think he was a demon, because demons don't exactly act the way he does. But in Asunder, he's a mercy killer. He sees himself. He kills those who he thinks suffer too much, who do not want to suffer the pain anymore. In fact, our first introduction to him is the fact that he kills a mage who is being starved, basically, which is a very common practice, and was a very common practice in the Circle, to keep dangerous or rebellious mages from escaping various captivity. And his viewpoint was that they wanted to die. He wanted to set them free, and he was setting them free. But then when he interacted with Rhys, it was very interesting as well, my opinion is, we got to see a slightly different side of him, because Rhys was the only one who could remember him, which he couldn't explain. And he was there was a sense of curiosity, but also friendship, as it says. He did get to know Rhys quite well, and his interaction with Evangeline, Wynne, and the various other characters throughout the book. It's very interesting. I do like that, the way he interacted with it. And my initial impression of him was that he seems like a compassionate and kind person. He just hasn't been taught the right things, in my opinion. Like, he's sort of like a child who thinks he's doing the right thing, even though what he's doing is questionably the wrong thing. That's the kind of impression I got from him in the book, at least. When it came to Dragon Age Inquisition, now, admittedly, my first playthrough, I went mages. I sided with the mages, but I did, in my other playthrough, I did side with the Templars, so I can talk about the way he talked during their mission was quite interesting, especially when you were almost being possessed by the Envy Demon. I found it very fascinating the way he talked about pain and suffering. The way he talked to the Inquisitor was very interesting. How he aided the Inquisitor. It's very cool. And also how people react to him. And also one other big thing is the fact that he could now be seen and remembered now. People could remember him to an extent. I think that may have been due to the fact of what Seeker Lambert did to him in Dragon Age and in Asunder at the end, even though Lambert is dead. I found that quite interesting. I said he could still make people forget him. That was quite, like, it was only certain people who could remember him, which I found that quite fascinating, very interesting. But definitely the way Cole introduced himself, it gives you a nice little backstory, but, well, not so much a backstory. He has this air of mystery about him for people who are unfamiliar with him. But at the same time, you understand that he is not human. His eyes give it away, though his mannerisms, the same way as in the book, the way he talks, they give away what he is or may not be. As is throughout, of course, Inquisition, we eventually find out that he is a spirit of compassion with his backstory and all, but I'll get to that in a moment. And also how people react to him, how Vivienne reacts to him. She sees him as nothing but a demon, an abomination, and he should be destroyed. Solus sees him as something more than that. And then the rest of the characters slowly grow into him, and I definitely like that, especially Varric, who sees him somewhat like a son in a way, I think. But I'll get to that in a few moments. But that's my overall first impressions of Cole when I first interacted with him, and of course in the book as well. Firstly, off the bat, you instantly get this suspicion of Cole, as I stated my impression of him, is that the way he talks, the way he views things, the way he describes things is not human. So you instantly know he's not a human being. At best, he has a spirit of some kind. Unsure of what, because what kind of spirit could make you forget, of course. And that's the kind of, the way he talked was very interesting, is the way he described things, the way he described characters. He could see inside people's soul in a way. He could tell what they were thinking, what they were feeling. pain, suffering, loathing, lust, those kind of things. And then he also saw the right ways to make things right. He actually wanted to help people. But his interaction when you first talk with him, when he goes to this woman who's sort of mourning the fact that someone she knew died saving her, or someone, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's someone she's mourning and feels guilty the fact that she lived and this person died. And Cole tries to comfort her, fails, erases her memory for a bit, and then comforts her correctly. Sort of like the mind wipe trick he has. I definitely like that. The fact that he does want to find a way to help people, but due to his ability, he can find any way to help people. If one thing doesn't work, he can just go back and erase a person's memories for a few seconds and try again. So he is kind, he is compassionate, he does want to help people, but his views are very obscure. Is when he sees someone who's starved, who's dying, basically, he's injured, he's begging for death. You can choose to either put the person out of his misery or say to Cole, give him a chance. He might say he wants to die now, but what about if he gets better? He'll never have the chance of that if you kill him right now. Now, Cole's viewpoint is also different on that. I definitely like the way you can groom him in a way. You're trying to explain him the way the world is, and explain that mercy killing isn't always the best thing. And I definitely like that, the way you interact with him and the way he's viewed and all that. Also, his view of you is very obscure. I like that. I really don't have much else to say beyond that and that aspect of it, but I definitely found him very fascinating when I was talking with him. And I always talk to him every time, every chance I got. And also the little pranks he pulls around town because he ruins Skyhold because he thinks it's what people want, which I kind of find hilarious. But also how other people view him is also very important. They are people are genuinely scared of him. The fact that people could remember him as well. Now, people are worried the fact that he can make people forget things. Like Cassandra, I think at one point does mention that she feels like he might have forgot something, that he could have made her forget seeing something that she didn't want, or something along those lines. Or Sarah especially is extremely spooked out by him. Vivienne, of course, is... Oh, don't even get me started on Vivienne. I've already talked about her. But yeah, but the only person who kind of doesn't see that is Solus. He kind of embraces that fact. He's kind of like, yes, let's converse, let's talk. He finds it fascinating, as I say, is the fact that we find he has a spirit of compassion, of course. And of course, when we eventually, if you take him into the nightmare realm, that is very fascinating, very telling. Is he's terrified of being in there. He escaped the Fade in a way, and he doesn't want to be back there. And the way the nightmare talks to him is also very creepy in a way. As I say, his nightmare and compassion are very similar. As his nightmare can take memories the way Cole can. The only difference is nightmare feeds on those memories and feeds on fear. Cole doesn't. Cole takes away the memories of fear and all that. So they are very similar, sort of like the counter opposite of each other. Nightmare is what possibly compassion could become if it was corrupted. So I definitely find there's a nice wee polar opposite between the two of them, and I do apologise for that. The way they describe things is his nightmare is like, I'm doing exactly the same as you, Cole, only better. And Cole definitely says, no, you're killing people. You're taking things forcibly away from people. And fear is a very interesting thing as well. Fear is a necessity of life. Without fear, we wouldn't know our limits in a way. And to conquer fear is... I can think most people can agree, conquering your fears is something that is very... very liberating. Like, you have a fear that you've had for years, or a fear you've had for... or something terrifying happened to you, and you're terrified that it will happen again. But then you conquer that fear, and it is one of the greatest feelings out there in this world. And Cole doesn't understand that. Nightmare does. Nightmare understands that, and he takes away from it. Cole doesn't understand that yet. And you, as the Inquisitor, have to explain to him that fear is a good thing sometimes. But being compassionate is also very important. So I definitely like that, and I definitely found Cole very likeable for that instance. I feel as though this is only going to be a little bit of a peeve of mine. This isn't about Cole in general. This is mostly about creepy people. And that is, a lot of people have actually complained the fact that Cole isn't a romance option. Some of them being very creepily doing that, and also very aggressively. I have received 1 or 2 questions on why I think he isn't a romance option, and it's blatantly fucking obvious why he's not a romance option. Pardon my French there, but I that kind of annoys the hell out of me. He's a kid. He has the mindset of a child. To romance him is not right, in my opinion. It's like it just doesn't feel right for me. Now, if you find that appealing, that's fine. Everyone to their own. But there's a reason he's not a romance option, is that he is a child in heart and mind. So take that as you will. That is why he's not a romance option, and I hope to the Lord they never do make him a romance option in any way, shape or form, because he should not be a romance option. He's a child. The Inquisitor is a parent to him in a way. That's the way I view things. I do not find Cole attractive personally, both physically and mentally, but I do find him fascinating. I find him a good friend, but I don't find him that kind of way. As if you do, okay, maybe you like that kind of thing. I don't. But I just had to get that out there. I understand why he's not a romance option, and if you don't, that's fine. But if you do and you'd still want it, that's also kind of creepy. But at the same time, I wanted to get that out there. He's not a romance option because he has the mindset of a child and he doesn't understand the concept of romance. So it would be like taking advantage of someone, basically, in my opinion. So I just wanted to get that out there, and hopefully you'll understand. I guess I could talk about his loyalty mission now, and I've done both sides of his loyalty mission. I have made him more spirit, and I've also made him more human. I prefer making him more human personally. That's just me. And that's because of what we find out about Cole. The fact that when he does become more human, we find out a lot more. It says Varric is there, and he's the one that he's encouraged him to be more human. And when you confront that Templar that killed the real Cole, because we do find out roughly around a bit then that he's a spirit of compassion, and he found Cole basically dying, and he helped him as best he could, but the real Cole, died. And the reason that he isn't a mage is because Cole didn't want to be a mage. And I like that, is that it kind of explains why he did. He was a spirit who became trapped in a body, or possessed it, and he couldn't leave it. And he's a spirit in this world, and everything's new. And sort of like in the way Justice came to this world unwillingly, the spirit of compassion did the same thing. It came a bit unwillingly, but if it was in this world, it found everything slightly confusing and strange. And the only difference is Cole was still alive when he was possessed. He just died. Justice was not. Christoph was not alive, so that's why Justice was the way he was. And I definitely like that, as he kind of explains how he viewed things and all that, and he saw that what he did for Cole, he could do for others, which is why he did what he did, and how he viewed things. But when you do his loyalty mission, this is the defining point in which you have to come towards it, is the fact that he is a spirit that over time has become more human. Something that some spirits don't crave, but some spirits maybe might find fascinating. Solus hates this idea. He's like, why would you change someone from what they originally were? Why would you do that? And it's not the fact that Cole doesn't want to change. He kind of wants to understand it and embrace it, but he's kind of scared and terrified. And he's embracing a few more emotions than any other spirits do, because spirits primarily encompass one emotion or one obsession, basically: wisdom, compassion, justice, valor, various things. That same with demons, with rage, desire, pride, nightmare, envy, despair. They all encompass one emotion, and Cole is experiencing multiple emotions now, especially when he confronts that Templar who's partially responsible for the original Cole's death. And I kind of found that interesting, the way he reacted to it, with rage, like out and out rage. He wanted to kill this person. Now Solus and Varric didn't want him to kill this person. He didn't. But Varric understood what he's going through. Varric knew that vengeance is a powerful thing, and sometimes it's overpowering when you want to feel it. And I think we can most agree that we've all had that one person that we're so angry with them and vengeful that we want to see them dead. But Varric also understands that you don't have to do that. And Varric does something that he has never done with anyone else. He hands Cole Bianca and says, pull the trigger. Now Cole does pull the trigger, but nothing fires. Varric's not that stupid. But he asks the kid, how did that feel? And Cole understands that that was something that it didn't feel right. It didn't feel good. He thought maybe if he'd done what he did, he would feel good. And he didn't. And Varric understood that. I definitely think Varric sees Cole as a bit of a son, in my opinion. He cares for him. And he understands the idea of vengeance, Varric, especially for most people. And Cole instantly tries to take away the bad memories of this Templar away, but Varric stops him and says, you don't need to do that. You don't have to. And I like that. Cole understands that this guy feels horrible for what he did. This guy, a Templar, who could easily have joined the Red Templars, but didn't. He just wants to live a normal life now. He just takes Lyrium. That's he has to. He didn't want Cole to die. It just happened. And I like that. And he has to live with that the rest of his life, which is probably a fate worse than death. And I like how Cole is at the end, after the mission. I like the fact that he's still learning. Like, he's lost the ability to make people forget him now. He has become more human. He still has his other powers, but he's becoming more human. And that, to me, is something that I think he wanted. At least to me, personally. He wanted to be more human. He wanted to understand humanity, and now he has. He can no longer make people forget him. And he still feels weird about it. He's like, how can I make people feel better if I can't make them forget? And your Inquisitor can say anything. And my Inquisitor always says, practice. Just practice. Because we've all been there. We all want to help people. We all want to help our friends or the people we care about. When we see them stressing over something or worrying over something, we want to help them, but we don't know the right words. I'm pretty sure if a lot of us had like the Mind Wiper from MIB or Cole's abilities, we would love to be able to make our friends forget what we just said and say the right thing to them. Rinse and repeat. But it's not always the case that happens. We as people have to learn to make people feel better. Now Cole does. And it's our job as the Inquisitor, as his friend, to help him understand that. And that's why I think I love that. I love that making him more human. And Varric understands that. He is no longer, in my eyes, that is the point in which Cole stopped pretending to be Cole and became Cole. He is human now in a way. He's still a spirit, very much in that. This is what I think is a good example of symbiosis. Now, admittedly, the real Cole is dead, long gone, but his body is still there. And this is what I think what could happen as well, in my opinion, if a spirit and a human body combined, basically, became one in a way. I don't think the real Cole left completely. I think his emotions, his memories, all those stayed there. And they joined with the Spirit of Compassion. And the Spirit of Compassion didn't understand them and was still trying to get to them. But at that point, you come to the combination where it's the human emotions versus the Spirit's mission, basically. And that's where you have to tip towards human or tip towards Spirit. And I like that. I really do like that. That this opens up the possibility for something different to happen. Very much in the same line of what happened to Wynne. Wynne died. But then a spirit of faith brought her back. And she lived long after that. Until she eventually died, sadly. But only after she transferred the spirit of faith to someone else. And the spirit of faith becoming one with that person is very fascinating to me. I think that's what could have happened. And in my opinion, I think Cole might be an example of what the old elves did. This is a little theory of mine. And I'm going to save the full thing for another video, but I want to say the basics here. What if the way to gain immortality was to combine with a spirit or a demon? Not an abomination like a demon. Because look what happens when a mage becomes possessed by an abomination. They transform, mutate. But we have seen abominations who look perfectly human. What if you could get the perfect symbiosis between a demon or a spirit and a human, that is what gives a person immortality? What if the old elves allowed a spirit to possess them, and that's how they became immortal? It's very interesting in my opinion, because Cole doesn't look old. could Cole be immortal now is a question. We don't know. Flemeth is a good example. Solus is a good example. The body may die, but the spirit will move on. The spirit can't really die, but it will move on. And I find that very interesting. Perfect symbiosis between a spirit and a human. Or an elf. Maybe even a dwarf. Because we do know that dwarves used to be able to use magic. But I'll save that for another video and another discussion. Briefly before we end, I will talk about making him into a more spirit-like. I don't like it. Because what he does after he becomes more spirit is he makes himself forget Cole. And that means Cole isn't there anymore. He's no longer Cole, he's just a pure spirit now. And that's where I disagree with Solus immensely. But that's just my... Do I go too much into that? I will have to wrap up, because I think I've actually covered pretty much everything from my notes on Cole. And I just want to say that I think Cole is a very fascinating character. I definitely enjoyed interacting with him. I like the fact that he was in the books and then he came into there and was very... the same character but also different. And I also like his development through it. So he probably changes the most out of all the party members in Inquisition, in my opinion. But that's merely my opinion. I like him. He's not my overall favourite, but he is one of my favourites. I definitely like the way he progresses and changes over time. And I also really like that. As to say my point, the voice actor who did him did an excellent job of portraying a childlike mind. So I give major props to that. But we are going to move on to the final advisor of the Inquisition and the final character we will be covering. Our spy master. Our shoe fanatic. Our sister, Liliana. This should be very interesting. I have quite a few things to say about her. Other than that, I thank you for watching. And I'll see you all next time. Ciao for now.